What's going on there, folks? Good evening. Good Friday evening. End of the work week. It is Friday, right? TGIF, April 1st, 2022, 7:23 p.m. Out here along the West Coast with my beautiful co-host here, Missy Mimis. What's going on, Missy Mimis?
What's going on there, guys?
April Fool's Day. No April Fool's jokes here. Seen all over the place. Someone saying there was an X-20 flare earlier. I mean, that would be crazy. They actually said the sun was breaking apart because of the X flare. That actually came from Solar Ham. Pretty cool April Fool's joke, but no April Fool's joke here this year. I don't know. I'm just really not into that. Call me a party pooper, but I can't do it. 2.6 earthquake over here around this area of the world. Let's go ahead and check out the latest activity. See that little spike there on the Petrolia station. Some movement coming into Northern California area right now on that earthquake seismograph station. Just a little bitty spike, nothing spectacular whatsoever. Looking at the quake activity here, looks like that earthquake there I showed you on the globe was up around the Morocco or Algeria region. That three-pointer, of course, USGS not showing that movement here on the globe, or on the flat scale map, I should say. Let's go ahead and look at the western part of the country first. Some further activity into Northern California here, just outside of Eureka, Redding, and the Anderson area. All three of these earthquakes pretty deep. This earthquake here, 3.2 near Willow Creek at 23 kilometers. Pretty deep subduction zone quake. I'm losing my voice. You might have to take over, Missy Mimis. It's just this cold that you gave me.
I apologize.
And some further deep movement here at the northern end of the Sacramento Valley. All this has to do with, I believe, the amount of tremor movement taking place here. We'll check that out here in just a second. Line of activity throughout Idaho and into the Wyoming and Montana region. Seeing some movement kick up here around the region just outside of Hebgen Lake, and a bunch of quakes here around the Sawtooth Fault System. Quite a few twos in there, including a couple ones on the map as well. No major movement throughout the area of the Pacific Northwest. We'll go ahead and check out the Yellowstone seismograph stations here real quick. And there was some movement here this morning around the northwest corner, around Madison. Some earthquakes here in the area. But since then, looks like things kind of mellowing out a little bit over the past few hours. I don't see any more quakes, any more swarming to report here at Yellowstone National Park at the moment. Of course, that can always change. It'll probably change right after this update. We'll see. Okay, getting back over here to the West Coast. Kicking up here down around the Mina, Nevada area, northwest of Tonopah. Seeing a pretty good swarm of activity. Quite a few ones kicking up there, including a 3.9 earlier in the day. All this activity, a sequence of the earthquake activity that struck here 6.5, I believe it was, back in 2019 within this region. So aftershock sequences continuing for now in that area. Not a whole lot going on around the Bay Area. Some movement south of Los Banos or Banos.
Los Banos.
Los Banos. Okay, there we go. Soledad as well, north of there, just off the San Andreas. Someone tried to correct me, saying I say San Andreas. And I don't remember ever a time in my life calling the San Andreas fault system San Andreas. So I appreciate your comment, but I don't recall the last time I ever said that. And I say it a lot because we cover the San Andreas a lot.
Yep.
I've never heard San Andreas. Okay, moving on. That tells you right there, I read all my comments, folks. I read even the negative ones. I mean, it's not really a negative one, but maybe they misheard me, I guess. I don't know. It happens, right? I get it. Down here around the Wheeler Ridge, south of Bakersfield, a little swarm of activity kicking up here as well. This movement pretty deep. Look at some of this earthquake activity.
Wow.
17 kilometers here south of, or just north of the Grapevine area, north of Tehachapi. Pretty deep movement, but we have been seeing quite a deep activity here in this region over the past few months this year. Not for sure exactly what's going on here, but it could be pointing towards possibly something popping here on the southern end of the San Andreas Fault. I mean, there's definitely been a lot of deep activity on the San Andreas, right? Didn't I say San Andreas? Okay.
San Andreas.
See, now I've built up a complex here. See what happens when I read all these comments? They're like, oh, And then there was somebody, I know, I'm not teasing anybody, but I know what I say and I know what I do when I'm on my updates most of the time. And a lot of times we do skip around the map. Someone mentioned about the why do you bounce around a lot? Why don't you go around in a circle? Well, I don't really want to go around in a circle. If there's nothing really happening in an area, I try to focus on regions right now that are seeing heightened earthquake movement. So sometimes we bounce around. I mean, it's kind of fun to bounce around.
It's better than being the constant machine.
Yeah,
Like,
the constant. Okay, guys, the start over here again today. Look, nothing going on. Yeah, I kind of like to bounce around at my own free will. So, yeah. But then again, that shows you I read all my comments. So,
What's that? Is that a?
that's an
quake?
older quake up here. It looks like it just dropped off the 24-hour map. That's why it's
I was gonna
yellow.
say, I was like, what in the world? I haven't seen that in a while.
Right? Sometimes it does that. So a little bit of movement. What's that?
A lot of query blasts going on down
Query?
there. Query blasts. Yeah, look. There's
Around
like two
these-
there, and then there's some down there, and just goodness.
Around the Garlock fault structure, a lot of query blasts here. Looks like a couple 1.3s.
And there's
Pretty
a couple
shallow
down
movement.
by looks like Salton Sea.
Maybe they're
region,
trying to stir up the Garlock fault zone.
right, and then
That's-
there's some down there too. Looks like on the Elsinore fault, the top of it there.
Right here, a little
Yeah.
bitty one outside of Corona. Yeah, query blast southeast of Home Gardens. So
Yeah, they're trying to set that one off too. There's two.
a couple of them.
Couple of
A lot of mountains out there. A lot of people
Oh, yeah.
doing the query blast. So some swarming activity to take note here in Southern California. Earlier this morning, we've seen the Imperial fault here pop off. A few earthquakes, about 12 of them, mostly in the 1 and 2 range. We did have an upper 2.8. Since then, we've seen a little migration up here to the north, folks. So that's something to watch pretty closely. Any type of swarm migration over a considerable period along a major fault system, such as the San Andreas fault and the Imperial fault and the Brawley seismic zone, right? They're all extensional faults here, the plate boundary. That's something to watch and note pretty closely. This area around the Salton Sea sees a lot of swarming. I'm not for certain if I'm going to call this a swarm yet, but we're seeing 5 earthquakes in the 2 to 1 range, and roughly consistent with the same depth here at 2.8 kilometers. I know someone mentioned recently today even, how come you guys use kilometers? Why are you guys using kilometers? Get away from that. Use miles. Well, I'm just reporting what the USGS here is showing on their map currently. And that's pretty much what we've been doing for the entire time out here.
And
I don't even know. Can we even switch this thing over to the kilometers here, or the miles?
I'm not sure, but I do. Yeah,
There we go.
Can.
We can.
But unfortunately, the United States, unlike the rest of the world, is the only one that doesn't use the metric system.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for it. And so I would love to completely learn the metric system.
We'll keep it on miles. That might be good. Okay. I don't want people to get confused though, thinking, "Wow, that's some shallow earthquake activity now." But yeah, we'll switch it over to miles. I guess we'll keep that there for now. So looking at this activity here, 3 kilometers? I believe this is now, right?
Yeah,
so
it was 3.6 here and there, and then 2.8 or 2.7.
So we'll try to stick to the miles. I get it. A lot of people like to use the miles, and it's right, when you're looking at your speedometer, you're looking at the distance from LA to San Francisco, you're looking at miles, not kilometers. So we'll do that. We'll stick to that, and we'll keep it as on the miles chart here. Okay? All right. You're welcome. So yeah, a little swarm. Like I said, I can't really call this too much of a swarm, but we're going to watch this pretty closely because it has migrated north from the Imperial fault zone, which was swarming earlier today. Arizona and New Mexico, not a whole lot of activity around the Pecos, Texas region. Yes, activity still continuing at 3.8. And once again, the miles here, 4.8 miles, 4.1 miles, all consistent with the oil fracking operations and injection wells out there currently happening throughout the beautiful state of Texas.
There were a lot of oil fields.
A lot, definitely.
On our way back, we went through a large one, and it was pretty interesting to look at.
It's pretty funny. Out there in a couple towns, people have these oil pumping operation things
In their yard.
Yeah, in their front yards. I'm thinking, what in the world is that? Well, I know what it is, but it's like, we're like inside the city and people are just pumping oil
On
right
their
out of their front
property.
yards.
Yeah, that was pretty neat looking.
It's pretty neat, but man, it's just, I don't know, kind
A
of
good
eerie.
way to make some money.
Right? Definitely making some money. So, Alaska activity kicking up here. It looks like throughout the Alaska Aleutian Trench area, no major swarms to report. There is some microquakes out here. Some of it pretty deep as well, 26 miles. So we got to get used to the miles here.
I know.
Into the subduction zone of the Pacific Plate. This area has remained quiet once again. It has gone absolutely quiet, except for one earthquake here. 4.5 in Russia, off the coast of Russia at 6.2 miles, and the Philippine Plate here, kind of kicking up. A couple small earthquakes on the western side, just a couple fours out there around the Taiwan area and the Java Trench area as well. Seeing a little bit of movement. I think this one hit a 5.3, 12 miles there, somewhat deep into the subduction zone. Starting to see a little bit of this is really back down here in this area where we've seen that uptick in earthquake activity over the last couple days. Of course, if you recall, had several large earthquakes in the region of the Loyalty Islands area. Today, only one earthquake here in that region of the trench. Which trench is the South New Hebrides?
Yeah, Hebrides.
Or
Trench.
Hebrides?
Hebrides.
Hebrides? Okay, guys. Remember, we read all the comments, so.
Feel free to correct us.
Right?
Because we know we will be.
5.5 earthquake there at 6.2 miles down below the surface. We're getting some deep movement once again here in the Fiji Islands. So that's 339 miles. So that's a pretty deep earthquake in kilometers. Look at that, 545 kilometers down below the surface. So a little return of movement here. Also, we've seen some activity down here in the north, or just south of the, where are we at here? On the south area of New Zealand, Oxford, New Zealand area, had a 4.3. Looks like that was after the deep movement up here, which would make sense here, because we're seeing the Pacific Plate subduct here, and with that deeper movement, ultimately applying pressure further down south here in the region of New Zealand. So that definitely makes sense in that area. The Middle East and areas around China, all pretty quiet for now. One lonesome earthquake out here around Turkey, 6.2 kilometers or 6.2 miles.
You're gonna have to get used to that one.
I know.
Hawaii.
I've been used to saying kilometers for
Kilometers,
quite a
right.
while, but that's all right. We'll do miles.
Ooh, look at that, bouncing all over the place there today.
Well, it's Mauna Loa kicking up a little bit here. Got a little bit of swarming up here. Pretty shallow movement at the summit. All microquakes. We got one above the 2.5 threshold here. But a little scattered activity here around the Mauna Loa area and the southeast flank region, looking pretty active as well. Looking at the volcanoes here, everything still looks pretty much about the same. Mauna Loa sits at yellow, and Kilauea at orange still. No major updates to report around the volcanoes here. The latest info that was put out yesterday still shows Mauna Loa volcano is not erupting. Rates of seismicity and CO2 concentrations at Sulphur Cone remain slightly elevated above long-term background levels, but have not changed significantly over the past week. Other Mauna Loa monitoring data streams, ground deformation, all other gas concentrations, visual appearance, and webcams show no significant changes. So things normal for now on the Big Island. Just some earthquake activity out there to report in the region of Mauna Loa. South America activity into the Chile region, inland down dip here, 69 miles into the Argentina region. You guys are going to hear me do that probably a couple hundred times, maybe. We'll see. So a little bit of earthquake activity into that region of the Argentina area, 5.2 on the magnitude scale. Up here around Colombia, a 4.5, and off the coast of Nicaragua, the 4.5 at 30 kilometers or 30 miles. See, look at that. Can't even go a minute without saying that.
You may have to switch it back.
Nah, we'll keep it at miles. We'll keep it at miles because a lot of people, we'll switch back and forth. If we see something like 400 miles deep, then we'll just verify the kilometers.
Yeah.
And kind of compare the two. So
going to be interesting.
Right. What do we got here? Tremor activity tonight remains elevated along the Cascadia with 533 epicenters of tremor. This makes a pretty lengthy week-long period or more of some heightened tremor activity counts here. One of the highest ones I've seen in quite some time along the Cascadia. Kind of talked about this last night, thinking, what the deal is. Is this normal? Is it typical? I can only compare this year, this amount of tremor activity to about 2018, when we've seen a pretty much a similar amount of tremor activity here in the region. All other years look pretty not as comparable as far as the amount of tremor and the length of the amount of high tremor that's being reported out here. So we'll see if this continues for a while or if it's going to slow down. But for now, we're looking at a considerable amount of tremor activity that's taken place here over the last. We'll go ahead and check the last 10 days or so in the region. We got to go back here to March, and we'll go back to about. We'll go back to the March 22nd to April 1st here, and we've got a pretty significant number here, 7,400 epicenters of tremor. It's quite a bit. Of course, prior to the 22nd, there was further activity as well, but this is just going back here over the last 10 days or so, 9 or 10 days. So, yeah, just kind of watching it. Far as general seismic activity goes into the Pacific Northwest, they're still saying nothing's going on up there. I mean, there's no microquakes or anything up here throughout the Pacific Northwest. I find it very odd. Oregon and Washington not reporting, not even a mouse squeaking. I mean, it's a little odd.
It's very quiet.
It's very quiet, but this doesn't make sense. There's almost always earthquake activity up here.
All the way up to Vancouver Island, there's nothing.
Well,
like nothing.
Let's go ahead and check out the tremor volcanic seismicity map here throughout a couple volcanoes and see what we got. Mount Rainier, not showing really anything on there, right? As far as local seismic activity, recent terms anyway. We'll go ahead and check out the map here. Looks like maybe some type of earthquake activity here within the last hour. Let me double check here over the previous day. There's the S waves from some earthquake activity yesterday, it looks like. There's definitely seismic activity at the volcanoes. And a little bit, just a couple spikes here. So there's definitely some movement not being reported throughout the area. And we keep checking these various volcanoes. We just... I could go through numerous seismograph stations throughout the Pacific Northwest, and I'm sure I can see earthquake activity occurring. I just don't know why it's not being reported out there in the region. Let's go ahead and check out Mount St. Helens activity within the region of the summit. See, these guys right here, though, are kind of showing, well, it's a negative magnitude, but still some earthquake activity in general here at the summit area of Mount St. Helens. In Washington, I can see some here within the last few hours indicated there on the map. Let's go ahead and check out the previous day real quick and see what we got. Obviously, yes, definitely some earthquake activity here. So somebody, I don't know what's going on here. I don't want to throw people under the bus again because my stream will probably go down at 4 o'clock in the morning like it always does. It's like, I don't know, it's like that witching hour between 3 and 4. My computer does some weird stuff and I lose my stream. It's not normal. So unless I have a ghost in here that's kind of controlling stuff. So we'll see. But either way, activity kicking up here. It's there. And it's not here on the map. So take your pick. On the recorded seismographs or this map here that shows absolutely nothing in the microquake department. So let's see what else we got here, folks, around the region. Earthquakes Canada. We'll go ahead and bounce up here to the neighbors to the north of us. And a little bit of activity offshore. Let's see what we got here on the plate boundary region. Looks like on the Pacific North American plate here, north of the Cascadia, off the coast of village of Queen Charlotte. Seeing a couple of small microquakes in the area, 2.0 over the day today. No major quakes to report up here throughout Canada currently. But a little active here on the west, also here in the east on the Quebec side. Looks like a little activity outside of Ottawa as well. Let's see, but I think that's about it. As far as earthquake activity goes, how's the chicken? Good?
It flared up, but I fixed
Did it flare up a little bit? Okay. Yeah, we're barbecuing some chicken out here. Of course, we're pretty much
Trying not to burn it.
trying not to burn the chicken, but we're cooking it with some mesquite wood chips, which is pretty tasty. And we'll see how that comes out tonight. Let's see. I want to check out the solar weather events out here. No major flares to report. No X20 event occurring like on April Fool's there, Solar Ham. Still issuing, it looks like a 30% chance of an X flare, 99% chance C flare, M flare at 75%. So, and that's still from the various sunspots that are facing us, mostly 2975. But we got some other ones cracking around the bend here. We'll see what they have to offer in the coming days and the coming hours ahead. So, what do we got going on here, folks? We're going to do a real quick question and answer show. If anyone has any questions, I'm going to have Missy Mimi's jump here on the live stream, and we're going to check out, well, if you guys happen to have any questions about anything going on, any unusual activity that you would like to report or maybe have us look into, we're up for that as well. Just let us know in the live stream here, and we'll try to help you with that.
Yeah, so guys, any questions, drop them in the comments in chat, and we will be happy to answer them.
Looks like a little bit of volcanic activity to report in the Philippines. Tal kicking up a little bit. Also, Krakatoa and what's this? Kita Loda. Lodo, okay. Also look at the Azores area. This one's kind of kicked up here a little bit. What's this? I can't remember how to pronounce that. It's Sao Jorge.
Sao Jorge.
Maybe.
Looks like that might be right. I've known a few people named Jorge.
Right.
We did call them George, but it was it was mutual. But definitely believe it's Sao Jorge or something like that. We'll be corrected. It won't matter.
Yeah. So according on here, it looks like a little bit of activity kicking up here. Total of about 20,000 events had been recorded from the earthquake activity there and volcanic activity around the Azores region. Ground-based global navigation systems data showed inflation, which was also suggested by satellite-based data processed by partners. So still kind of watching that one. Looks like we've raised the aviation code to yellow on a four color scale code.
Jay Bear says, I came in late. Was there a really sizable earthquake in Nevada today, like a 5 or 6 magnitude?
I don't believe we've seen anything like that showing up out here. I think the largest one so far was the 3.5 at 12.4 kilometers. Let's go back to miles here. I need to change that map up a little bit. That was in this ongoing swarm that's been kicking up here in the area northwest of Tonopah. I don't believe we've seen any 5s in the area. I'm not seeing anything listed out here on the map. A 5 would definitely be listed for sure. And I think a 5, if it was in Nevada, would also show up here on the Yellowstone seismographs, which I didn't see any unusual distant long distance earthquakes showing up there. So yeah, just 3, a 3.5, and a bunch of little ones as well. A lot of microquakes.
Other than that, so far, not a whole lot. Not a lot of questions.
What's going on at Tal? Let's see. Reported that hot volcanic fluid circulated and upwelled into Tal's, right?
Tal, yeah.
Main crater lake during March 24-25, producing plumes that rose as high as 2.4 kilometers above the lake's surface. Wow. See if there's anything new. This was almost a week ago or so. Roswell. So a little bit of activity added on to the weekly reports here from the volcano.si.education website. The Smithsonian USGS Weekly Volcanic Activity Report.
Jay Bear said said they saw it on Twitter, so it must have been an April Fool's joke.
Possible,
I said
right?
most likely a lot of that going today.
Yeah, there's a lot of April Fool's jokes going on, just like that X-Class X20 event. So I just can't do that. I just can't put out false info like that. I mean, it might be fun to do it at home with your family, but on a YouTube page or social media, if you're running a page,
panic.
It could definitely cause panic.
Certain people who may actually believe it.
Yeah, it definitely could cause panic out there. So
I did one today, but it was it was harmless, on my own page.
Yeah.
But that one was kind of the running joke for the week. So I mean, but it wasn't anything, wasn't something like this, like that could cause panic. So.
Oh, all right, guys. I think we're gonna jump off here. Then I hope everyone. We got to go outside and watch our chicken, make sure that doesn't burn, and we'll go from there. Well, we got 4.7 coming in right now on the globe out here. Kind of want to check that out real quick. See exactly where that's at. Looks
South
like the
Africa.
EMS. Looks like the EMSC report in that earthquake. Let me jump over here real quick and see what we got. EMSC models are showing the region of, what do we got here? Click on that. Tanzania, that's right. 10-kilometer depth, 4.7 kicking up. So, all right, guys. So if there's no more questions, we're going to call it night, and we'll be back, of course, pending any further large-scale events, or we'll see you back here tomorrow for sure for an update video tomorrow, Saturday, the weekend. Anything else coming in?
Hello, Karen. She said she's saying hello from New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. Thanks for checking in, Karen.
DQ says, yay, Africa Rift Zone.
Right? Things getting a little crazy out here.
Right.
But it's crazy that the amount of earthquake activity that's ramped up when that solar storm was coming at us.
I agree.
That's
I definitely.
Even though that was a brunt, just a little brush of the CME that was supposed to hit us.
Yeah.
It didn't provide the G3 class storm events that they were predicting, but it's all good. All right, folks, so we're going to jump off here. Remember, we read all comments, so if you say hello, we'll probably say hello back. And if it's a negative comment, you know what? We read them anyway. And if it's beneficial and helpful, we definitely will try to adhere to that comment. If we want miles out here, we'll probably do the mix of miles and kilometers in future shows. So,
hello there, Freebird. Thanks for joining us.
Freebird.
You caught us just at the end, but you did catch us.
Right,
next.
we're here, Freebird, just at the end of the update video. So, all right, we got to keep this thing under 30 minutes. We're coming up on 30 minutes right now. So, have a good night, folks. Stay safe out there, and we will chat you guys another time.
Peace out, guys.